Thank you for joining this webinar. And as you can see on the screen, the title for this session is about growing market share. This will probably take around 20 minutes to half an hour. And I hope this session will be valuable for you. So growing market share, isn't this every sales leader's dream? Every sales leader's vision, their objective, and of course, we are measured by it as well, which is a key performance indicator. Call it what you want, but growing market share is a key aspect of any business. And as a C-level executive, we need to ensure that we are generating fresh leads, winning more opportunities, and turning closed business into recurring revenue. These are the three ways that, in my experience, we can grow market share. So I think it's a good idea to service your existing customers so that you can leverage our existing clients to get new business. As we know, the best leads come from recommendations from your existing customers and from your network. So on that note, can we all agree that growing market share is something that we all want to achieve? I mean, it's a given. You already know this, but I thought I'll set the pace for this session by bringing awareness to this point of growing market share. Next is a set of questions which you can see on the screen, and let's answer these questions honestly to ourselves. Take a minute to read them. If you're happy with the answers to these questions, then I sincerely think you'll be wasting your time with the rest of this presentation and you can drop off. But if you are not happy with the answers to these questions in your own business and you are looking for solutions to these questions, then I might be discussing something in the rest of this presentation that may interest you. Miller Hyman, which is a reputed sales process organization, did a survey in late 2018, and there's a report out on this in the public domain, which I downloaded, that quoted the following statistics. In a B2B sales environment, quota attainment was only at 54.3%, and win rates were 47.3%. Now that's quite an eye-opener, because that kind of indicates that we are just only about 50% of what we really want to achieve. So for example, if you set your B2B sales team a target of $1 million for the year, we are only achieving about half that. So I'm asking you another question, which is not on this screen. Are we setting unrealistic expectations, or are we not doing something right that we are only achieving half of what we have set out to achieve? Now, to back this up, I've spoken with numerous B2B salespeople, and they're absolutely struggling with achieving their numbers in these tough economic times. There are rumblings about an inevitable recession that is going to hit the Australian market and, of course, the rest of the world. In fact, the telltale signs are here already. In Australia, interest rates are at an all-time low, but consumer spending is down. Retail is struggling. jobs are scarce and redundancies are on the rise. These conditions does affect buyer behavior, no doubt. So now it's time to brace, buckle down, and look at some conservative yet consistent strategies to enable the B2B sales process to happen. I'm going to talk through a little bit about the B2B selling environment now. I mean, it's a pretty tough gig out there. Digital transformation is a much hacked phrase these days. However, like it or not, digital transformation is upon us. That's a fact. B2B buyers are engaging with sellers much later in the buying process, and they are doing their due diligence on platforms such as Google and other social media channels. The traditional sales process from lead generation to closing and account management, in my opinion, needs a radical shake-up, and we need to rethink how we can put our frontline salespeople into the field for maximum impact. Let's not kid ourselves. Frontline salespeople in a B2B environment are very expensive resources, and they earn a fixed and variable component in their income based on sales. They are expensive but resourceful and highly skilled resources. If these expensive and highly skilled resources are being brought in much later in the sales process, then we need to be finding ways to make them more productive and also provide them with a more meaningful, purposeful, and less stressful environment. Take it from me, I've been there, done that. If a salesperson's only objective is to meet their monthly, quarterly, or annual quota, then a whole heap of things are compromised, which will have a drastic impact in a post-sales environment. Now, we don't want that, do we? So, no matter what sales methodology or marketing process we adopt, we are after three main objectives, and I hope you will agree with me. One is we are looking for more connections, which means leads. We are after more conversations, which are prospects. And we are after more conversions, which are customers. The prospect's attention span is very limited and easily distracted in a digital world. We've got videos and ebooks and surveys and webinars and seminars, and it's a very crowded marketplace. This leads me to my next slide. I want to go through the two main personas or avatars in a B2B process. So there is the buyer and there is the seller. So if we look at the anatomy of a buyer, generally speaking, these are the types of behaviors we see as a buyer, and I speak for myself as well. If I'm looking for something, I will reach out to known parties and ask them. I will ask my accountant, I will ask my friends, acquaintances, people I've done business with before. I will ask them, hey, you know what? I'm looking for a accounting solution or an ERP or a CRM. Have you got any ideas about it? Do you know anyone whom I can talk to? That's the first thing. Second one is if we've had experience in a past life with a certain type of solution, meaning a product or a service, we naturally want to bring them into the loop because we feel comfortable with working with them. There are other buyers who are very resistant to change. And we see this when there are people in positions uh, who are from the era of the baby boomers uh, who like to stay with what they know. They are risk averse. Then, of course, the next point, at the rate that technology is changing so fast, there are so many good solutions out there in the market that as a buyer we are not even aware of. Functionally, it may be much better than what we are used to or what people recommend to us. And even from a commercial, from a pricing point of view, they might be more cost effective. We don't know. And what we don't know can prove to be detrimental because if we don't know, how can we bring those products and services into our buying mix? I've seen the next point may favor certain vendors. I've seen this myself where because they offer training programs and certifications and workshops and conferences overseas, there are certain buyers who have a bias towards those types of vendors. They feel secure in recommending and purchasing those types of solutions. A buyer may be uncertain of what their total requirement is. And of course, like I said, we may be unaware of some of the cheaper alternatives that may be better. So these are some of the points of how a buyer behaves, and I'm sure there are lots more that you can think of as well. Now, if you look at a B2B salesperson, obviously we are going to promote the solution that we are paid to promote as the best solution fit for the buyer. As a salesman, we will never talk about uh, expose or talk about any failed projects that we have because that will be detrimental to us winning new business. Sometimes in a complex sales environment, although we are the frontline consultant to our prospects and clients, we may be unaware of the total cost of the solution. We will never admit that a competitor solution has a better fit for a prospect, constantly under pressure to meet the monthly, quarterly, and annual targets. We are not seen, and when we are working under such pressure, we are not perceived or seen as a trusted advisor. Even as a salesperson selling a solution that we are expected to be competent with, the rate of technology changing so fast, it's sometimes impossible to keep up with these changes and provide the answers to prospective buyers. So those are my thoughts, but in order to justify and confirm my thinking process uh, of the fact that buyers are bringing sellers into the sales process much later. I initiated a survey which I sent out that had some interesting feedback. The results were not surprising to me as because it was what I expected. But let's look at these results anyway so that you just don't take my word for it. Just 5 questions, but the answers are very interesting and very relevant and topical to this subject matter. So the first question deals with doing your own research when looking for a solution. And almost 60% of respondents said they would rather do their own research. If you're a vendor and your solution doesn't have a digital visibility, would this be a worry for you? Definitely yes. I'd like to reiterate the point that almost 60%, 57% of respondents to this survey, which I think is a fair representation of a much bigger audience, said that they would rather do their own research. Now, this is encouraging for us as a vendor. The combination of the green and the blue is greater than 80%. So guess what? If you have a unique value proposition, if you have an industry-specific solution that increases revenues, reduces costs, or improves efficiencies and processes, you better have it out there on the internet because people will read, they will absorb, and they will contact you. Again, the combination of green and blue proves that people will get attracted if your messaging is right and you are on the right platform. 42% say that they don't mind being contacted. However, the combination of the other three segments is greater than 60%. So the yellow, the purple, and the blue. So this goes to prove that buyers want to do their own research and will get in touch when they feel it is the right time. And I think that potential buyers, prospects, do not like it just because they've downloaded an ebook and put their contact details, but straight away you latch onto it as a salesperson and get in touch with them. People would like to get back to you on their own time. And finally, there are no surprises here. Almost 80% of respondents do their initial research on Google. That's a given. This is why I asked the question, do you appear on the first page of Google search results? That's a separate subject in itself with complexities of AdWords and the top three search results being paid results, etc. And we'll leave that one for another day. Google is an excellent search engine and is now a household name for any age group as the first port of call for a search. I wonder if anyone remembers the term the yellow pages. I have worked with solution providers, both products and services that have excellent offerings but don't appear on the first page on Google, on the Google results page. This is not good for vendors as well as potential buyers. You need to know what's out there and have them in the mix when you are evaluating solutions. Don't get drawn by only the companies that have large advertising and marketing budgets to create visibility. While their marketing might be good, their solutions might be mediocre in comparison to some of the solutions out there in the market, and they could turn out to be quite expensive and have timeline blowouts and cost blowouts. And this, my friend, is why I have come up with a digital platform that will help both buyers and sellers to engage with each other. So this brings me to the end of this brief presentation. I've taken up uh, almost half an hour of your time. So let me leave this session here and invite you to part 2 in my next webinar, where I will talk a little bit more and offer you a service and an alternative solution for B2B selling in these tough economic times. If you are interested, please watch out for a note from me, which will be on LinkedIn or sent to you via email if you have left your contact details. So cheers for now, and thanks for taking time to be on this session, and I will talk to you soon on my next.